You know, how
Oh yeah, there's so many contributing factors.
What kind of area, country, farm versus
Absolutely.
city?
I would just point out that our animal cruelty statute in New York actually exempts hunting, fishing, trapping.
So you'd have to check into the parents and see what's going on, the upbringing, you know, they're doing this.
Right,
you know.
but those crimes they're not crimes under our federal.
It's fine, that's right, that's what I put up, it's
Yeah.
I'd be remiss if I didn't break in here, sorry for the tangent, but there are hunter harassment laws, so we're talking about First Amendment rights of free speech, and we're talking about hunting, and there's so many, almost all states have hunter harassment laws, which means that you cannot interfere with a hunter's right to kill. You can't crush leaves to warn the animals that the hunters are coming. You can't have a bullhorn to let the deer run away from the hunters.
That's what I'm saying, like somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer, you have to put in perspective, well, was he going and hunting and doing stuff? No, he was in the city street doing stuff like that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Another question? Any questions?
Are any of these presentations going to be on your website? Are any of the presentations going to be on the website, or can they be emailed? Or?
At the moment, we're recording them for archival purposes, and the New York City Bar Association does from time to time make them available, but we're not quite sure at this time for this particular presentation. Thank you for asking.
I have a question for the non-lawyer. Is there any effort in New York State at least to have these market agricultural laws that are, you know, encompass animals, well, as companion animals, to move into the penal code? And is there an effort for more animals to be included, like farmed animals and, you know, other wildlife under these laws, not just companion animals?
There has been a great effort to move the animal cruelty laws from the agriculture and markets law back into the penal law, where it was at one time. But then it was moved into agriculture and markets law as all things animal, dealing with transportation and sale and breeding, etc. Has been a big push. The legislature has not bought the proposal for the consolidated animal crimes bill that has been proposed year after year for several years now.
So it's just an ongoing effort.
It is an ongoing effort.
Can I ask one more question? Is there a way that someone who's a non-lawyer can have access to see in a compiled way all of these relevant laws to, you know, different types of animals and animal cruelty?
If you Google Animal Enterprise Terrorism Act, the language will come up, and then also around a couple of top hits will be the Center for Constitutional Rights, which has a pretty good synthesis of it. So just Googling the statute's name will not only get you the actual bill, but then a bunch of other websites that interpret it.
And this is Dara's book, by the way.
I was going to say, it's so nice to hear it in that way, so I'm glad. What is it called?
It's called Muzzling, a Movement.
Okay, great.
It's available on Amazon. Maybe familiar with their
If
work.
I can just interject, there's a great website that Michigan State University has, the Animal Law Center, or Animal Law and History Center, something like that. Michigan State University compiles state by state all the animal relevant laws from that state.
And I'm going to add to that ALDF also, if you go on their website, they do every state's laws, and you can get everything.
Right, so that's aldf.org. Okay, good. And then the Michigan State, we were just talking, it's .info, but it's animallaw.info. Does anybody, it's just animal law or animalsinlaw.info.
Animal Law Center.
Michigan State.
Oh, Sharon, I have a question
Yes,
for
Laura.
Mickey before he has to leave. Do you have any practical tips for a member of the public or professional photographer who is obeying the law on public property, taking a photograph of animal cruelty, and they're threatened with arrest? How do you speak to the police and explain to them? I mean, do you have any tips for interactions with the police?
Well, the one thing that I recommend is, even if you're taking still pictures, you should have someone with you who's recording, because, you know, it's like, let's go to the videotape, because other than that, it's the he said, she said as to what went on. So if you have the ability to record audio and video of at the same time, if you're still taking stills, or if you're shooting video, just make sure you don't turn the camera off, because that will be the best evidence as to, you know, whether you were disorderly. Because for the most part, photography in public is not a crime. So when people get arrested or get issued an appearance ticket, it's for such things as disorderly conduct, disturbing the peace, obstruction of governmental administration. That's a biggie. There actually was a lawsuit in 1977 that ended in a consent decree between the NYPD and the New York Civil Liberties Union that basically said obstruction of governmental administration cannot be you cannot use that charge for somebody who's either taking a picture or recording, asking questions of an officer, or observing. And that language from this consent decree was incorporated into the NYPD patrol guide in 2000, and yet I still end up with cases where people are actually charged with that. Fortunately, we've had some pushback. Robert Stellarik, who's a photographer for the New York Times, who was up in the Bronx photographing stop and frisk, for example, a matter of public concern. It was a big discussion in New York as to who these laws were being applied to. He got arrested up in the Bronx and charged with obstruction of governmental administration. We had the charges. It took 6 months to get the charges dismissed. The fortunate part is the officer decided to get a little creative, and in his misdemeanor complaint that he has to sign under penalty of perjury, he perjured himself by saying that the obstruction was the fact that the photographer, this happened at night, was firing his flash off in my eyes. And that was there was only 3 small problems with that. When they arrested him and confiscated his equipment and inventory, what wasn't on the inventory? A flash. Every frame in digital has metadata that indicates one of the fields is flash exposure. Of the 56 frames he shot, every one of them said no flash. And the third part was he didn't own a flash. The district attorney in the Bronx was so annoyed that he actually prosecuted the officer for the perjury charge. And they offered him the ability to, retire. He didn't take it. It went to trial. First he got indicted, then he got convicted. He ended up only being sentenced to community service, but this was a huge swing from what usually happens where it's the photographer that gets in trouble. So, record. It's really the best evidence. You're the one who knows you're recording, so don't get out of control. Don't yell, don't scream, don't carry on. Let all the people around you lose it. Whether it's people that are yelling at you, that you can't take pictures.